What's up everybody, hope you enjoyed that little exhaust clip. I don't get cold starts, I just get warm starts, but they do like a little pop sometimes, so hopefully that sounded good for y'all. Today we got a new video. We're going to be doing a breakdown of my 2 years of ownership with this vehicle. I have a whole list of items that we're going to go over, but we're going to go ahead and be jumping straight into the video, so I'm going to go ahead and go to my video recording spot, and then I'll see you there shortly. Alright guys, so we made it to the spot. I had a whole list of things that I typed out of everything we're going to be going over, but I forgot it, so I'll be going off the top of my head and then we'll round everything up at the end. What we're going to be going through is what is it really like to own a C7 or C7.5 Audi S6. If I say anything negative, it doesn't mean I hate the car or don't love it, but it's just the realistic view of it. Hopefully this can be useful to someone that's looking to buy one of these cars and get insight on someone who's owned them for 2 years now or 23 months just about. Things I won't factor in are like gas and my insurance. I can go ahead and give you a breakdown of those things, but we'll do that after I go over everything. I'll kind of break it down into how much it costs me to maintain and own it, and then we'll also do like a yearly cost and breakdown and everything. I do have the maintenance notes on my phone. That's just word of advice. Make sure you always keep your maintenance notes and mod notes, because if you ever decide to sell the car for whatever reason, you have all that info. So before anything, I want to preface that I purchased this car, like I said, 2 years ago. It had 47,000 miles. Right now it's sitting at 69,000 miles, so I've put about 22,000 miles in my 2 years, so that's 11,000 a year. And I carpool to work, so that's a lot of driving already. So when I purchased the car, I'm the second owner. It was completely stock. So now that we have that out of the way, let's go ahead and go over everything I've had to do to this car in terms of maintenance and upkeep. Quick note, because I forgot to mention this, but everything that I'm going to list here is all done by myself or like a family member sometimes help me, but there's no labor cost included in this. So just take that into account, that if you're trying to follow a similar guideline or budgeting in the same as I am, I didn't have any labor included. So the first thing I actually had to do with the car was actually as soon as I bought it, but at 47,000 miles, the lower control arm bushings were already shot. I noticed that when I would drive and hit like little dips or bumps, that the whole steering would like shift and like the car just didn't feel confident. We saw that the bushings were worn, so instead of buying new bushings, I bought 2 new lower control arms from, I think, Rock Auto. They already had the bushings installed, and we got a brand new lower control arms. The next thing I had to do was a wheel alignment. That was at 47.5. I'm pretty sure that the old alignment that this car had was done with the bad bushings, so it was just not straight at all. So we had to get that out the way as well. We'll go ahead and pop the engine just to give you something kind of pretty to look at. The next thing we had to do was at 56,000 miles. We ended up doing the spark plugs and the coils. So I got OEM RS7 NGK spark plugs and OEM Bosch coils. A quick advice: if you go to FCP or ECS, you'll actually get lifetime warranty. You know, you just pay once and you get them again. So the next item that actually went bad on this vehicle was my front right passenger air suspension. Yeah, I had to go to court for, let's say I was going fast on the highway next to another car. I had to go to court, and I was trying to lower the car before I went to court, and smartly enough, the airbag was leaking and I didn't really pay mind to that. So whenever the car was deflating, inflating and all that procedure, straight up popped in like a balloon in my garage, and it scared the piss out of me. I had to tend to that immediately. That was at 59.3 thousand miles. That was not a fun job. I mean, it wasn't hard, but I remember it was pretty costly. One thing I did skip over are my oil changes. I did the first one, I think, at 48,000 miles. Total, I've done 4 oil changes on this vehicle in my ownership. I do them every like 5,000 miles, maybe a little bit over. I'm about to hit my 5th one. I need to actually buy the stuff for that soon. I bought a one-time 034 Motorsport magnetic drain plug, which came with crush washers. So after we did the passenger air strut at 65,000 miles, I ended up changing the spark plugs a second time. So that was another cost for me, which if I would have purchased from FCP or ECS, I wouldn't have had to worry about that. But the second time I did buy it from FCP. I won't have to pay for spark plugs again. This is when I went stage 3 with my upgraded turbos. You know, it was already like around 15,000 miles that I've had the original RS7 spark plugs that I put into the vehicle. The next thing that we had to work on after were actually the rear brakes and rotors. So this actually just happened not too long ago, but this was at approximately 69,000 miles. I had to replace the rear brake rotors with Zimmerman rotors, and then I went with some Hawk 5.0 ceramic pads. Another maintenance item that we did when we did the rear brakes, so at 69,000 miles, was the passenger side airbag, or air spring I should say. This air spring was leaking for a while, even before that one I'm pretty sure. This one just didn't have an issue, it didn't pop on me, it just leaked slowly. 500 miles later, I had to replace the fronts. I went with some dynamic friction carbon alloy rotors and then Power Stop Z23 carbon brake pads. The only downside is that these are one-piece rotors instead of two-piece like the OEM ones. I don't have two-piece rotor money, and even if you get them from Alibaba, I think they're like 600 bucks or something, and I don't even know if I trust those or not. So one item that I will count, but it wasn't really anything wrong with it, but this air solenoid, this is what controls the air from the compressor to go to each airbag, so each of these airlines delivers the air. I ended up swapping that when I was chasing down the air leak on my passenger side. That's like a $60 part versus like an $800 air strut and like another like $200 air coil. I ended up swapping that air solenoid with like a $50 piece or something. I consider that as maintenance because it was part of troubleshooting and trying to address the issue. And there are actually a couple other things that I purchased for this car but just haven't installed, but we'll kind of go over that later on. So let's go ahead and tally up the total. Alright guys, so now we're going to go ahead and get into the breakdown of first non-included costs. So for insurance and gas, for full coverage insurance in Texas, as a 26-year-old male, I do pay $200 a month, so that's $2,400 a year. Next is for gas. So usually I get about 20 miles per gallon. I mainly do highway driving, but the gas tank is reported at 19.8 gallons for a full tank. So theoretically, I would get 396 miles on a full tank, which kind of adds up because that's kind of what I see with my tank mileage. And then taking into consideration that I've driven 22,000 miles in 2 years, so 11,000 a year, we can assume that so far I have purchased approximately 27.8 full gas tanks. So you do 11,000 divided by 396 miles, and then you do 27.8 full gas tanks times 19.8, which is how many gallons are in a tank. You get roughly 550.4 gallons of gas a year. If 93 octane is usually around like 350, you do the math, so 350 times 550.4, and then you get $1,926.40 a year for gas. Those aren't counted, but I figured some people might find that interesting. Next, we're going to go into the accounting costs. So these are the things that I just went over, but the first thing were the control arms. So for left and right, passenger driver side, I paid $147.64 for both. Next was after installing the control arms, the alignment, that was around $200. Next is oil changes, so bunching them all together. I usually pay $122 per oil change for the oil and the filter, and then I did buy a one-time purchase of 034 magnetic drain plug. It also came with like a bunch of washers, so that was $19.49. So I've done 4 oil changes so far in total. The 4 oil changes plus the washer set that one time, it was $507.49 in total. Next were turbo outlet pipes. So from the turbo to the throttle bodies, I had to buy new ones because the OEM ones were so burnt and toast that they ripped. Those were $42.42 from ECS. Next were the spark plugs and the ignition coils. So the ignition coils were Bosch, those were $308.72, and then the spark plugs were the NGKs from the RS7, those were $109. Next was the passenger side front air suspension, so that's from Arnott Industries, and that was $732.07. We had the air suspension solenoid valves, that was $61.12. My second set of spark plugs that I did at 65,000 miles, those are another $109, but this time from FCP, so I don't have to worry about buying them again. Sponsor this video, give me a holler, bruh. Next were the various oil and coolant lines that I purchased as preventive maintenance during my turbo swap. Those were $53.52. And then just recently I did all 4 brakes on all corners. So for the rear brakes, it was Zimmerman rotors with Hawk 5.0 ceramic pads. That was $162.15 for the rotors, $123.89 for the pads, and then $7.36 for the wear sensor. So for the front brakes, it was dynamic friction carbon alloy front rotors, those were $299.86. Power Stop Z23 ceramic brake pads, those were $77.71. And then the wear sensor, again, $6.94. So taking all of those into account, the total was $3,026.02. So now we'll go ahead and do the bonus round. So these are things that I purchased but I haven't installed on my vehicle. We have the DSG transmission service kit, that was $118.69. Crankcase vent valve, that was $11.54. Oil check valve was $70.35. The oil separator or PCV was $129.89. And then various gaskets, $51.75. These were all for my PCV service that I plan to do. So the bonus items in total were $382.22. So the final grand total for all of these items is $3,408.24, or $1,704.12 a year. So if we add that yearly cost plus the $2,400 for insurance a year, $1,926.40 a year for gas, and the $1,704.12 a year for maintenance, you get a total of $6,030.52 as yearly ownership costs for the S6. All right, so now you guys have seen the total. I know it's like over $3,060, I think, or something like that. Yeah, I don't know actually. I was looking at the numbers and it's a lot crazier when you put it into that perspective. I think it's like $6,000 a year to maintain this vehicle, which I do not feel like that's how much it costs, but apparently it does. It's a great car, it's a good daily, but in all honesty, if you're younger and you don't know how to work on cars, maybe I wouldn't recommend this as a first vehicle. Again, it's a good car. It's probably better for someone more seasoned and that understands ins and outs of like German vehicles and how to work on them. In general, this car is not terrible. It just takes, I feel like this just takes a lot of maintenance. It always needs attention. It always needs something. Like there's so many things I said like I need fixing, like these are leaking, so I got to replace these. They're fine for now, but you can see there's like coolant leaking everywhere. I got to get down to the PCV, get all those things swapped out. I still need to take this for the recall. Yeah, it's a car that takes a little bit more attention, and if you're younger and you can't really maintain the vehicle yourself, or you don't know how to work on German cars, maybe get something else to begin with. Like B58 is very reliable, very easy to work on, 6 cylinders, you get good gas mileage. That's just my opinion. That's my advice for anyone looking at these vehicles. But whenever I am on the highway and I floor it and downshifts and everything, that does put the smile on my face and make me forget a little bit about how much I've spent on the vehicle in total. All right, everybody, that's going to end the video. I don't think it was too short. Hopefully it wasn't, but if it was, I mean, all the same difference, same content, but I really hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope it gave you guys some insight. If you were looking into this vehicle, if you have questions, feel free to drop them in the comments. Let me know. I'm always answering questions. I'm always letting people know my opinions, but yeah, this has been my S6. This is my 2 years of ownership, 22,000 miles, and these are just my thoughts and opinions on what it's been like. But anyways, if you guys like the video, please leave a like. Make sure to subscribe. We're so close to 1,000 subscribers. I'm almost at the 4,000 watch time hours, so we're about to get monetized if you don't know what that means. And yeah, I'm excited to start that journey. Hopefully we can get monetized here soon and start making a little bit of money. And I like to be transparent, so I'll be letting you guys know too how much money we make from YouTube and so on and so forth. But with that being said, I'll see you guys next time.